Hello everyone, thank you for coming back to my channel. Today, I'm bringing you another emotional episode revolving around the love story of the single mother, Lythieuca. As you already know, Lythieuca has just discovered that she is carrying a little life inside her, the child of Hung. Yet, up until now, this secret has only been known by Ha's mother, who loves her deeply and has accepted her as an adopted daughter. Lythieuca continues to keep it hidden, not just from friends and neighbors, but also from Hung himself, the man who will likely be the most surprised when the truth comes out. In today's episode, the story becomes more intense and emotional than ever before. Will Lythieuca find the courage to face everything and reveal the truth that has been weighing heavily on her heart? When this secret can no longer be kept, how will Hung react? Will he be shocked and angry? Or will he be overwhelmed with happiness at the news of becoming a father? That moment will surely mark a turning point, changing the future for both of them and opening a new journey for their little family. So stay with me and follow every detail in today's episode to truly feel the inner struggle of Lythieuca, the anxious waiting of her adopted mother, and the unexpected truth Hung will soon have to face. These will surely be heart-stopping, emotional moments you won't want to miss. Don't forget to leave your comments and share your thoughts on the stormy yet love-filled journey of Lythieuca and Hung, so that we can walk alongside them and witness the ending meant for them together. After days of resting in the small room, tenderly cared for by Ha's mother with every meal and every night's sleep, Lythieuca's health finally began to recover. The fatigue and dizziness that once left her too weak to even sit upright slowly faded into the past. In their place came a gentle yet steady source of strength, seeping into every breath she took. Lythieuca realized her body was coming alive again, rediscovering the resilience to keep moving forward, even though countless worries still loomed ahead. At dawn, as the sun peeked over the horizon and spread its golden light across the mossy roof tiles, Lythieuca stepped into the garden. Her hands gently brushed the leaves still wet with morning dew, feeling their cool freshness as if it mirrored the renewed rhythm of her own life. Patiently, she bent down to cut bunches of tender greens, carefully wrapping them before placing them into the worn bamboo basket that had aged with time. The fruit trees no longer stood neglected. Each pomelo, custard apple, and jackfruit seemed to whisper a quiet message of hope, that even amid hardship, life always nurtures new sprouts of happiness. After harvesting, she stopped by the rabbit pen. The little bunnies had grown, their white fur fluffy and their ears perking up at every sound. Sitting down, she fed them tender leaves, watching as they nibbled eagerly. In that moment, her eyes lit up, for the sight reminded her of a humble home where every living being is sheltered and grows up surrounded by love. She knew that outside, life's storms were still waiting, but as long as love and protection existed, she would have the strength to walk the rough road ahead. From the yard came the clear laughter of a child. Tony, with his innocent eyes, could never stay still. Sometimes he chased after the chickens scratching the earth, other times he ran to cling tightly to his mother's neck, proudly telling her about his victory of catching a falling yellow leaf. His tiny hands clutched the hem of her shirt, prompting Lythieuca to lean down and press her cheek against his hair, still warm with the scent of sunshine. In that instant, all worries and exhaustion melted away. Her heart overflowed with a simple, indescribable warmth, the kind of happiness she once thought had vanished forever after all the turmoil. Leaning against the old mango tree in the yard, Lythieuca's thoughts drifted to Hung. All this time, she had hidden from him a truth too great to keep, the little life growing inside her. She knew Hung would be overjoyed, but deep inside, fear made her hesitate. She was afraid that once the truth came out, their lives would change forever. Her gaze unconsciously turned distant as her hand rested on her belly, as if to shield and protect the fragile child within. From the veranda, Ha's mother silently watched. She saw every movement, understood the silent turmoil in the young woman's heart. She loved Lythieuca as her own daughter, and that love made her want to urge the girl to be brave. One day soon, she would gently sit down beside Hoai, take her frail hand, and say, "My child, let Hung know." A home is only truly whole when both share the burdens and the blessings together. Those days, the once quiet yard was now alive with the sounds of life. The distant crowing of roosters, the wind rustling through the areca palms, and Tony's giggles whenever his mother chased him in play, all blended into a painting of simple peace and tenderness. And in Hoai's eyes, a new belief quietly took root: no matter how many hardships lay ahead, as long as there was family and love, she would always find the strength to move forward, protect her child, and keep her promise of love for Hung. After her health gradually stabilized, Hoai decided to return to her familiar little home. The modest house, though simple, was filled with countless memories, and now it became the place where she would begin a new chapter, being both a mother and the sole support for Tony. At dawn, as the first sunlight filtered through the window, Hoai gently woke her son to get him ready for school. Still drowsy, Tony rubbed his eyes and softly called for his mother. Patiently, Hoai dressed him, packed his small backpack, and tucked inside the lunchbox and water bottle she had prepared at daybreak. On the familiar village road to school, mother and son held hands in the morning breeze. Tony skipped along, chattering about the things he looked forward to in class: new games, friends, and his teacher. Listening to his cheerful voice, Hoai smiled, feeling both relieved and more determined. At the school gate, she bent down to remind him to behave, then lingered for a moment, watching his small figure disappear into the crowd of children until it vanished behind the row of classrooms. Returning home, she immediately set to work. In the garden, rows of vegetables were ready for harvest, while gourds and squash hung heavy on the trellises. She rolled up her sleeves, carefully cutting fresh bunches of greens and placing them into a bamboo basket. Beads of sweat dotted her forehead, yet her eyes shone with joy, the joy of a mother working with her own hands to provide a fuller life for her child. After gathering enough produce, she added a few eggs and some fruit from the garden, neatly arranging everything into the twin baskets of her shoulder pole. The path to the market wasn't long, but it was enough to make her shoulders ache. Still, Hoai walked steadily, knowing that every bundle of vegetables and every piece of fruit was more than just a livelihood. It was proof of her resilience as a woman raising a child on her own. At the market, she spread her goods on a bamboo tray, arranging them carefully: fresh green morning glory, small white eggplants, plump gourds and squashes, and fragrant pomelos. Buyers and sellers bustled about, their chatter and bargaining filling the air. Hoai greeted each customer with a gentle smile, masking the worries she carried within. When the first bundles of vegetables were sold, she let out a quiet sigh of relief. She knew the road ahead would still be full of hardship, but each passing day, each small task completed was a solid step forward. Deep in her heart, she only wished for her son to study well, to have a complete and happy childhood, and for the day to come when Hung would return, so that he could truly understand and cherish all the silent sacrifices she had made. One quiet afternoon, Ha finally took a break from his busy work to return home and visit his mother. The familiar, bumpy village path led him back to the small house, where tall old areca palms stood still in the breeze. The wooden door was ajar, and from inside came the smoky haze of the kitchen fire. The sound of crackling firewood mingled with the smell of straw smoke and a pot of mixed greens boiling vigorously, filling the air with warmth and familiarity. Ha's mother was bent over the stove, occasionally wiping the sweat from her forehead. As soon as he set down the basket of gifts, she looked up, smiled gently, and invited her son to sit down for dinner. The evening meal was simple: vegetable soup, braised fish, and pickled eggplant. Yet, amid the modest dishes, her voice suddenly grew solemn as she spoke. "Do you know, lately Hoai has been very weak." Luckily, She came here for a few weeks and I could take care of her, so she's much better now. But, she paused, her eyes clouded with sadness. The girl is pregnant, with Hung's child. And yet she insists on hiding it, refusing to tell him. Her words struck Ha like a thunderbolt. He froze, his chopstick suspended midair. His heart pounded as his mind swirled with relentless questions. Why was Hawa hiding it? Why had she chosen to endure everything alone, when Hung had the right to know? He remembered her frail figure, her eyes always shining with determination, and he realized more deeply than ever that behind her strength lay a heart torn and vulnerable. Ha didn't answer right away. He lowered his gaze to the bowl of rice before him, his face tense, his chest heavy as if weighed down by a stone. His mother sat across from him, her worried eyes fixed on her son, waiting for him to respond. After a long silence, Ha nodded slightly, let out a deep breath, and spoke in a low voice. I understand. Let me go and see Hawa. That evening, after the meal, Ha left the house and walked along the red dirt road toward Hawa's place. On both sides, rows of green vegetables rustled in the breeze, blending with the earthy scent that lingered after the rain. The late sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting warm golden streaks across the path. As he approached the gate, the usual sound of children's laughter was absent. The yard was quiet, save for the clucking of chickens in the garden. In the small courtyard, Hawa was tending the vegetable rows alone. She bent down to pull weeds, mounded soil around the roots, then cut fresh bunches of greens and placed them in a bamboo basket. Her hands moved quickly yet silently, her long hair was tied hastily, with loose strands clinging to her sweat. From a distance, Ha saw her slender figure standing out against the lush green of the garden, like a solemn, quiet note in the fading twilight. He stopped at the gate, his hand instinctively tightening around the bamboo fence, his heart racing. The scene before him stirred both sorrow and determination within. Ha knew this conversation would be difficult. Hawa was not someone who easily opened her heart, but he also knew it was time. She could not carry the burden alone any longer. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into the yard and spoke, his voice calm but resolute. Hawa, we need to talk. His words broke the silence of the peaceful evening, marking the beginning of a conversation that would change so much about the future. The atmosphere at first was awkward. Ha stepped onto the veranda, sat down on the worn wooden chair, and let his eyes wander across the yard. Rows of green vegetables swayed gently in the evening breeze, and a few chicks waddled around the garden corner. Everything seemed peaceful, yet inside him a heavy weight pressed down, hard to put into words. He took a deep breath, searching for a natural way to begin. His voice came slowly, softly, but with sincerity. Have you been feeling better lately? My mother said you were very weak a few weeks ago and made everyone worried. If you need anything, just tell me. If I can help, I will, please don't hesitate. Hawa looked up, her eyes brushing briefly against his before darting away. A faint, awkward smile flickered on her lips, fragile, like a stray ray of sunshine on a rainy day. I'm feeling better now. Honestly, it's thanks to your mother's care that I recovered so quickly. Her voice was low, warm, but tinged with hesitation. She avoided Ha's eyes, keeping her gaze fixed on the garden, where gourd vines hung down, as though she were trying to escape the confrontation. For a moment, Ha was silent. His mother's words echoed clearly in his mind, urging him to speak the truth. He clenched his hands, then spoke firmly, his tone lower but resolute. There's something you shouldn't keep from Hung. He has the right to know, Hawa. The words fell like a heavy stone, instantly weighing down the peaceful air. Hawa froze, her hands tightening together on her knees, fingers trembling faintly. Her lips parted, but it took a while before sound emerged. Her voice was choked, each word forced out from deep inside. I'm afraid. I'm afraid he'll worry, that it will distract him from his work. You know how dangerous and exhausting his duty is. I don't want him to falter because of me, because of this child. I'd rather bear it all alone. Her words made Ha's chest tighten painfully. He looked at her for a long moment, his eyes filled with both compassion and sorrow. He knew she was strong, but also that she had sacrificed too much, carried too much. Her thin frame and sorrowful eyes could not hide the fatigue, and that only deepened his ache for her. Ha sighed softly. Reaching out, he placed a hand gently on her shoulder, the warmth of his touch carrying reassurance and support. His voice was calm, but each word was weighted with conviction. You don't have to carry this alone anymore, Hoai. To me, you're like my own sister. My mother and I will always be here for you, whenever you need us. But I believe I alone am not enough. Hung must know, because the child in your womb is his too. You can't shoulder his part forever. The longer you keep silent, the more it will hurt him when the truth comes out. Hoai lowered her head, her delicate shoulders trembling. Her long lashes quivered as she fought back tears that threatened to fall. She said nothing, but her silence spoke volumes, a stormy struggle of love, fear, and responsibility. Ha didn't press further. He simply sat quietly beside her, letting her know that in this heavy moment, at least she was no longer alone. The next morning, while dew still clung to the leaves, Ha made his way to Hoai's house. From the lane, he spotted her familiar figure bent over near the rabbit pen. She was struggling to gather the young rabbits into their cage, her breath shallow, her cheeks flushed from the effort. Seeing this, Ha frowned and hurried closer. What are you doing? This is too heavy, let me help. You shouldn't be lifting things like this, especially right now. His voice carried a hint of reproach, but it was filled with concern. Hoai looked startled, her eyes widening before quickly lowering. She was about to refuse, but when she met Ha's firm, caring gaze, her lips pressed together before curving into a faint, reluctant smile. All right, you can help me, but please, don't let anyone know. Ha nodded without another word, lifting the rabbit cage onto his shoulder with care. Hoai carried only a basket of fresh greens and a few pomelos from the garden. The road to the morning market was already bustling, people calling out to each other, the clatter of bicycles, the laughter of children. Cool wind brushed through the bamboo along the roadside, carrying the earthy scent of ripening rice. Walking beside her, Ha occasionally turned and spoke in his warm, steady tone. Don't strain yourself anymore, you need to keep your strength. If you need help with selling, I can step in. You don't have to shoulder everything alone, alright? Hoai only smiled softly and nodded, but inside, a wave of warmth welled up. For so many days, she had thought she had to bear everything herself, but today, with Ha beside her, the walk to the market suddenly felt lighter. At the market, Ha quickly pitched in. He placed the rabbit cage neatly beside the bamboo tray of vegetables, arranging the bundles of greens and pomelos carefully. When customers stopped, he greeted them warmly, even lifting a rabbit out for them to see. The market buzzed with bargaining and chatter, and a few passers-by remarked, "These two siblings are truly close." Hearing that, Hoai simply smiled, but deep inside, she felt the unmistakable comfort of being protected. The worries and burdens that weighed on her seemed to ease, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. As the market thinned and all the vegetables, fruits, and rabbits were sold, Ha let out a sigh of relief and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Turning to Hoai, his voice softened. It's done. Are you craving anything? Let me treat you to something good. Hoai thought for a moment, her eyes brightening slightly before she answered, I want pho. It's been such a long time. Ha laughed heartily. Then pho it is. My treat. There's a place just at the head of the market, best pho you'll ever have. Together they strolled to a small old-tiled shop, the aroma of pho wafting out from afar. The steaming bowls arrived, broth clear and fragrant. Ha pushed the larger portion of meat toward her bowl. Eat up. Eat well to stay healthy. You're not just taking care of yourself anymore, you're caring for your child too. Lowering her head, Hoai's eyes shimmered as she smiled while eating. Each bite of tender noodles and savory meat seemed to wash away her fatigue. For the first time in days, her heart felt truly light. After the meal, Ha insisted on walking her back home. The afternoon sun stretched golden across the quiet path. Along the way, he spoke gently but firmly. Remember to take care of yourself. If anything feels too hard, just call me. Don't hide, don't hesitate. My mother and I will always be here. Hawa listened silently, her lips curving into a faint smile, while inside her heart swelled with gratitude and warmth. That sibling-like bond had become her steady anchor, making her feel she was no longer alone on the road ahead. That late afternoon, after walking Hawa home, Ha quietly made his way back. The village path was bathed in golden sunlight, the breeze carrying the scent of freshly dried straw, yet his heart felt unbearably heavy. The image of Hawa's frail figure, her eyes whenever she spoke of Hung, lingered vividly in his mind. As soon as he stepped onto the veranda, Ha caught his mother's expectant gaze. She was sitting under the eaves, picking vegetables. The moment she saw him, she asked, "You went over there, how's Hawa doing?" Ha sat down beside her with a long sigh. He recounted everything, how that morning he had found Hawa trying to carry the rabbit cage on her own, how he helped her take produce to the market, and their quiet conversations along the way. He repeated her trembling words, that she was afraid Hung would worry, afraid his duties would suffer, so she chose to endure everything alone. Hearing this, his mother fell silent. Her weathered hands froze mid-motion, still holding green stalks between her fingers. Clicking her tongue softly, she spoke with sorrow. Poor child. But she can't keep it a secret forever. One day, Hung will find out, and it'll be even harder then. Ha nodded firmly. I think so too. She's strong, but she can't carry everything by herself. Hung has the right to know, and the responsibility to share this burden with her. I believe he won't be angry. He'll be happy. Mother and son exchanged a look, their eyes reflecting both worry and determination. Finally, she set the basket of vegetables aside and nodded slowly. All right then. I'll call Hung. This needs to be said clearly, and the sooner, the better. She went inside, reaching for the old phone. Her hand trembled as she dialed, but her voice was steady. After a few rings, Hung's voice came through on the other end. Pausing only a moment, she spoke plainly. Hung. I have something to tell you. Hawa, she's pregnant. And it's your child. In that small house, both Ha and his mother held their breath, waiting for his response. Their hearts were still heavy with worry, but they believed that once Hung heard the truth, he wouldn't be angry. Instead, he would be overwhelmed with unexpected joy. Hung's heart trembled violently, as if a tidal wave had surged through his very core. Shock and happiness struck him all at once, so overwhelming that his throat tightened, leaving him speechless. His ears rang, and all he could hear was that one heavy sentence echoing again and again, Hawa is pregnant. It's your child. In that instant, her image appeared vividly before his eyes, the slender figure, the fragile shoulders, the gentle smile, and the eyes that always shone with quiet determination. He imagined her struggling alone, caring for Tony, enduring the waves of morning sickness, and quietly laboring in the garden just to put food on the table. Now he realized all of that hardship had not only been for Tony, but also for a little life, his child. At the thought, Hung's heart ached and yet blazed with indescribable joy. He could hardly believe it. He was going to be a father, a sacred happiness every man longs for in his lifetime. Yet mingled with that joy was a piercing sorrow. Hung understood perfectly why Hawa had chosen silence. She didn't want him to worry, didn't want him distracted from his duties at the unit. To help him stay steady at the front line, she had borne everything in silence, from fierce nausea to the heavy burden of making a living. All so he could serve with peace of mind. Thinking of that quiet sacrifice, Hung's heart clenched with both anguish and pride. More than anything, he wished he could rush to her side at this very moment, to hold her tight and tell her he never wanted her to suffer alone. His comrades, noticing his dazed look and tear-brimmed eyes, asked curiously, "What happened, Hung?" He only shook his head, lips trembling, unable to answer. His eyes gleamed, reflecting a whole sky within. His chest throbbed with a wild rhythm, each heartbeat pounding like a drum. Happiness surged through him like a roaring fire, urging him to return quickly, to Hawa and the little child growing day by day in her womb. Sitting beneath the shade of an old almond tree, Hung lifted his gaze to the boundless blue sky. The drifting clouds floated freely, but within him, a powerful force surged through his veins. His fist clenched tightly, trembling with emotion. And in that moment, his heart held only one unshakable resolve. No matter the hardships, no matter how many trials lay ahead, he would return. He would return to protect, to love, and to build with Hawa a true home, a home filled with Tony's laughter and the newborn cries of the child soon to arrive. After hanging up with Ha's mother, Hung remained seated beneath the shade of the old almond tree in the barracks. The cicadas of late summer droned around him, the afternoon breeze rustled through the leaves, but he barely heard any of it. Everything faded into the background, eclipsed by the overwhelming rush of joy that left him breathless. He had just heard the news that he was going to be a father. His heart pounded wildly, his blood surged as if boiling, urging him to leap to his feet and run straight home. In that instant, all he wanted was to hear Hawa's voice, to tell her, "Don't be afraid, I know now. I'll come back, and I'll take care of you and our child." But harsh reality struck. Hawa didn't own a phone. She had never been used to such things. He didn't even have a number to send a single word of love or comfort. At the very moment when his longing to connect reached its peak, Hung could do nothing but sit in silence, gripping his phone tightly while his heart burned like fire. He ached to hear her voice, but all he found was a heavy emptiness. He had no choice but to entrust his feelings to Ha's mother and Ha. In their next call, Hung repeated again and again, "Please, take care of Hawa for me. Tell her I know now, that I'm overjoyed, and that I'll be home soon. Tell her not to worry, not to be afraid, because I'll never let her carry this burden alone again." He believed that even if she couldn't hear him directly, Hawa would still feel the depth of his love and happiness. Yet the joy of fatherhood came hand in hand with a restless urgency that gnawed at his chest. Hung couldn't sit still. His mind overflowed with images. Hawa bent over in the garden, her frail hands pulling weeds and gathering vegetables, Tony running about the yard, laughing without a care, and now, the image of a fragile new life, beating its first tiny heartbeat in its mother's womb. The scenes played in his mind like a vivid film, stirring his soul and driving him to act. That very afternoon, Hung sought out his comrades. He spoke plainly, "I have urgent family matters back home. Please support me. I'm willing to swap shifts, take on heavier work, longer watches, whatever it takes. Just let me earn a few days of leave." His eyes were resolute, his voice steady but burning with urgency. Seeing his determination and the emotion behind it, none of them could turn him down. They nodded, ready to share his load. In the days that followed, Hung threw himself into duty with twice the strength. He volunteered for longer shifts, braved the sun and rain, accepted exhaustion, all for the chance to secure an early leave. At night, when others rested, he kept watch silently, eyes wide in the dark, driven by a single purpose. Whenever fatigue weighed him down, Hung closed his eyes, and instantly his mind carried him back to that small home in the village. Hoai bent low over the green rows of vegetables, Tony laughing under the mango tree, and a fragile little heartbeat pulsing inside its mother. That vision burned like an undying flame, feeding him with strength to endure. Now, Hung's heart held only one thought: he had to return to Hoai and their child as soon as possible. Returning was not just a duty, it was the burning desire of a man, a husband, and a father longing to protect his family. Today's story ends with Hung's happiness interwoven with restless longing. From afar, he has learned the truth, that Hoai is carrying his child. Though he cannot rush home immediately, the determination to return to his little family now burns stronger in his heart than ever before. As for Hoai, she continues to shoulder her burdens in silence, standing strong each day. But now she is no longer alone. Behind her are Mother Ha himself, and most importantly, Hung's heart beating for her with every moment. In the days ahead, will Hung find a way to arrange leave and return soon to Hoai and their child? Now that the secret is no longer hidden, will happiness finally smile upon this little family, or are new challenges waiting just beyond the horizon? Share your thoughts and blessings for Hoai, Hung, and little Tony in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next episode, where together we'll witness the touching turns that await them.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người câu chuyện của mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng. Ở trong tập này thì mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng thì mẹ Hà đã nói cho cảnh sát Hùng biết được sự thật rằng Hoài Ca có bầu. Điều này khiến cho anh vô cùng mừng rỡ, nhưng mà do là Hoài Ca cũng không có điện thoại nên hai người không thể nào mà liên lạc với nhau á. Điều kiện kinh tế cũng không cho phép nên anh chưa thể mua điện thoại mới cho Hoài Ca được. Vậy thì Hùng đã quyết định là sẽ tranh thủ làm và dồn ca làm lại để có thể dành ra 1 đến 2 ngày để có thể chạy về thăm Hoài Ca. Và Hùng sau khi biết tin này thì vô cùng mừng rỡ cũng như là vui vẻ và rất là vui vì Hoài Ca đã có con chung của anh với cô. Nhưng anh cũng sợ là liệu là anh có con rồi thì Tony anh sẽ đối xử như thế nào, thì mời mọi người đón xem ở tập sau nha.